So we're starting to get into the best leaders in the game. Now we're starting
We
to
already
get
got her. What are you
the
talking
bet.
about?
I
She was
know.
back in C tier.
For some reason, like no one knows why. Like, anyways, yeah. So
uh,
let's say Cutter, right? Like, so Cutter is bottom of the B tier for me. Um,
Really,
so Cutter is now the next
really,
leader.
that is a choice. Okay.
I'm with it. I'm
Who's
100% with it.
left? What is
So
it like?
so let's just say B tier because I can give out B tier. Well, I can give out all of them. I just can't tell you what tiers they are. So the
Let's just do B. Let's just do B.
so so
You're right. Yeah.
so B tier consists of Cutter, Atriox, and Decimus.
Hmm.
And I say Atriox and Decimus is slightly better than Cutter.
Mm. Well, then after that, it's like Colony, yeah, Trip,
Yeah, like
Forge.
so Colony, Yap, Forge, Arbiter, Vortis, and Shipmaster is left. Just so you know, Vortis has combat spoils.
I don't think. I think a lot of the opinion on Vortis in the community is shifting a little bit. I don't think Vori's that busted in ones, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, whenever we get to them, I'll
I
go
would
over some
say
of the
Cutter.
numbers.
For me personally, I think Cutter's better than Vori, but yeah.
Okay. So if we're talking Cutter though, like let's say first two leader points, what do you guys think on first two leader points?
Oh
You want to
man.
see Raid and then Mines?
Okay, what about
I
you, Monkey?
I never really play cutter, so most of the time I'm either using battle harden for the thrill of getting my leader veterinized, or I'm getting the mines most of the time to pair with the leader.
So I think you're on standing with your friend Keegan, where it's like you have to be removed from the friends list if you play Cutter,
Oh yeah,
or
cutter mains are all going like straight to hell. I mean that's just the way it is. I'm sorry. It is what it is. You know.
Okay. I honestly think we're joking. We're all in agreement. UNSC raid one,
Yeah.
mines for second. I think we can all agree that that is essentially the better route to take as Cutter. Are we all?
You don't think you can make an argument for the raid two? You reckon?
UNSC raid two could be an argument, especially if you have like a lot of snipers. So if you have a lot of snipers, you don't need the hero slam against infantry. But if you are trying to slam with your hero, let's say if you're versus choppers, ghost, or if you don't have a lot of snipers, then that's when you're going to use mines. I think majority of the time you're going to use mines, but if you do have a lot of snipers, you can say raid 2 would be the better option.
Uh, yeah.
What about third point? I think we're all going to choose the same thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Battle
No, no,
hard.
yeah, no joking around that one. That's
So yeah,
uh,
so ODST assault or ODST drop is definitely the best option for that one. I think we can all agree on it, just for the fact of it gives you units. The units can be. It's a huge stun that is non-telegraphing stun. There's not that many non-telegraphing stuns in this game. So another thing is you can also use it on offense by sneaking a jackrabbit or a marine behind their base and just ODST dropping a gen. So I think ODST drop, and it gets even better in teams because you have a basically they can't micro out of an ODST drop. So that means if you have a teammate that has glassing beam or something like that, then they are guaranteed to hit that glassing beam with the ODST drop. So it's even better in teams. But even in ones, being able to stun your opponent and they can't avoid it, or being able to hit their base while they're not around, is definitely a really strong ability for that. What about fourth point? I think we're all in agreement on this one too, to be honest.
Maybe not. Probably Archer missiles.
So you think Archer missile over Cyclops drop?
well, depends on how many vehicles they have, really. You
Yeah.
know? Um, And here's another thing with it though, because I could lean on archer missiles more. You're using ODSTs for stripping the base already, right? So, what's to say pairing archer missiles up with ODSTs wouldn't be a phenomenal base stripping combo? I've seen it do countless
It
amounts
does
of
a lot.
damage.
I think it does this. I think it does exactly the same as Rain of Fire, and it's instant damage.
Yeah,
So
really nice with ODST
so
drop,
it's
I
like
would say.
it's about 40% of the damage, I think, on the pads or something like that. Might be 50 even. Like archer missiles do a lot of base damage.
Yeah,
Um,
I love
so,
it.
but honestly, so I'm Cyclops majority of the time. If they have zero, uh, if they have zero vehicles, then and it depends if they have air. If they have air, I do archer missile. If they have infantry, I like turret drop. That's just my personal choice on that one. But yeah, I think you guys make a point. I mean, if you're being aggressive on the
Yeah,
base,
I,
Archer Missile
yeah.
can pay itself off really well.
I think yeah, I'm gonna double down on Hayden's point. Honestly, I genuinely think Archer Missile would be the majority of the time the better choice because as cutter, most of the time you're gonna have windows where you can get the ODSTs or you're gonna be in a position where you're strong enough to to go on the offensive and ODST Archer Missile is the combo to go with. I feel like that can be very strong.
Well, what I'm gonna do is so we're gonna say this is just gonna be or whatever you guys choose. I think if they have vehicles though out, which majority of the games they're gonna have vehicles, so 90% chance I'm gonna go into a uh, yeah, I'm going Cyclops drop. Veteran 2 Cyclops drop is just really good for me. So I really like that. And but the Archer missile, if you want to push people's bases, is a viable option as well. So
Mhm.
and turret drop on infantry though is pretty nice, man. But
Oh, for sure, but I don't think it'll get as much value as the Cyclops by any means. The
oh no,
Cyclops for
I
sure would
prefer
be.
Cyclops over everything.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so next leader in the lineup is Atriox.
Mm.
What do you
Below Decimus, really?
so Desi is right next, in the B lineup. So the question would then be, do you think that Desi is ahead or behind Atriox?
Mm.
Hmm.
I'm putting Atriox ahead.
I would
Solely
too.
for the reason like it's very difficult to push an Atriox base in ones. The turrets are ridiculously cheap. There's not much in the way of
Turret shields are
So
cheap.
so are you
yeah,
Fortifications upgrades.
yeah, yeah,
well, are
that's
you
true.
going 42 like, or are you going to go something else for your second layer point? Like, are you going to go fortification
Ah,
2 or
I've been conflicted on that. But I mean, yeah, you could easily make the argument for Fordo too because
sure?
the really cheap turrets, really cheap bases. There's never a bad time for Fordo too. It's a really great setup. But uh,
Yeah.
yeah, plasma
I
mines
think
are also really good though.
Gracie's
I,
talking from like a point of one. So I see people a lot of time go countermeasure plasma mines,
yeah,
and
Sure.
yeah,
So it depends on what map you're on, right? So the countermeasures, it really depends on if I'm on, for example, Bedrock in 1 versus 1. Countermeasures is almost a must, and the reason is because they are going to have to run down the center lane and putting mines around every node and they get them back from me is even better because when they get it back from me I'm putting more mines down when I retake it. So throughout the whole game I'm going to be putting mines down the center of this map and it's just so good. As for the second leader point, I think fortifications or plasma mines. If I was in that scenario, now if the plasma mines on or if the countermeasures on the nodes aren't as big of a deal, I would choose fortifications for my first leader point. So it just depends on what map we're on and how much value I get from the nodes. You will inherently get the value with the jump pack brutes, which I love it, but I more or less have the nodes as the deal breaker because I know I'm gonna get the value out of the jetpacks, but the nodes to me are the deal breakers. It's just that one extra thing that pushes me to get it. As for so that could be my first or second leader point. Usually I go fortifications for my first. My second leader point, if I have jetpacks, I like to go countermeasures. If I have choppers, I'll either go fortifications or mines. So, what are you guys' thoughts?
For the third point,
Second, first two.
for the second. We play a lot of threes, so I think there's a lot of benefit to having the cheap bases and the cheap turrets.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people who could like just, one. There's three different people who can deal with the plasma mines on the nodes. Second point, I mean, I usually go for it too, but there is, of course, that old classic trucks build where you get fortifications one, and then you get countermeasures second, and you build triple barracks on your expo, and you just pump out GPPs. I mean, that's a stock standard Atriox build, so I don't think you can go wrong going Fort One countermeasures.
Yeah,
Really don't think that's
yeah,
a
I
bad one.
definitely want to make a caveat to what I said earlier. If you guys are playing teams like twos and threes, fortification one is almost always going to be your choice, unless you are just absolutely rushing the crap out of somebody with countermeasures and plasma mines. I think that majority of the scenarios you're going to go fortifications one for your first leader point. Now, in one versus one, it just depends on if you can use the nodes or not. For me, so Monkey, any thoughts on first two leader points for
Oh
Trox?
man. Uh I know no one's gonna like it, but I really like Dying Breath. I just think that that's just
Point
such
two,
Okay.
a
huh?
it's just
All
such
right.
a neat little LP. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
know. I know a lot of people don't like it, but man, does it feel good getting that extra like damage? It's just nice. I don't know.
Monkey
And
plays for the base snipe.
it's extra damage from the units that go with it, and it's
Mhm.
extra defense because they're tanking the shots. So those units will tank the shots for the turrets.
Mhm.
So you'll have those turrets focused on that unit that's dead, and then you'll have the other niche thing about it is you'll have extra damage. So
Yeah,
it's just
I
nice for
I
me.
think he
I
has
really
a
like it.
really strong kit for his first two leader points. Like it's really hard to go wrong, because I I don't think that I don't think Dying Breath is the answer, but I do think it is a strong choice. So, but so is every bit of it. I think Fortification 2 is strong alongside Plasma Mines, countermeasures, or Dying Breath. I think it's hard to go wrong with Trox. So yeah, I would just say fit it to whatever playstyle you have, really. But you're saying if you're pushing a base, maybe if you're hyper aggressive on somebody, countermeasures, and instead of mines, go dying breath to give you the extra 5 seconds per unit to kill the whatever pad you're hitting.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I
that's
love it.
okay. I think we agree on bulwark for third.
Yeah.
I think so. What about?
Well, I know this isn't too valuable, but sometimes the suicide grunt drop off to the side, maybe not
Oh
necessarily
boy.
right on top of an army.
Oh boy.
I know
Boy.
that's niche. I'm talking niche, but if you're desperate, and you
Yeah.
drop them off somewhere where they can't see them, you could sneak the suies in, and you could use them on the army while they're not split or they're pushing up to your main.
You
I don't
can
know
like
that.
you can upgrade that drop. I think you get like 3-star jetpack brutes from that when you
Yeah,
upgrade it.
So
Yeah.
I think so.
okay, so
But
bulwark for your third point is that's that's really the choice. That's the choice. Like,
It's
uh,
like,
all
okay.
right.
dying breath would be a better choice than what he just said. Okay,
Dang it.
anyways, but bulwark essentially bulwark gives you invincibility frames of 1 second.
Yeah.
whenever you drop it.
Mm.
That's really good versus vultures. It's also good against Mac Blast, Inferno, a lot of other things. Eradication in the mirror match. If you wait until the Erad converges and then do Bulwark, whenever it slaps the ground really hard, it does the most of its damage. It will actually nullify that. And Erad without that ground pound is really not that great of a leader power. Like that. That's where all the damage is, you know. So, but yeah, so Bulwark nullifies so many leader powers. Hunter's brand, all you know, so many. So definitely Bulwark. As for your fourth point, glass and beam or teleport.
I have my leader teleport. If not, I'll go glassing.
What
If I'm
about?
playing for the aggressive like leader style,
Mhm.
and it depends if somebody has like an anti-nuke capability,
Sure.
then I will get the teleport.
Um, so what about you, Monkey?
I'll tell you all the way.
Tell you all the way. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't really like um, I don't like the fact that my attention has to be on the beam, not on the not on my army, and also I don't like the fact that my opponent can out micro very well a beam. So you basically have to have jetpack brutes or choppers in conjunction with it. Plus, you can't watch your army, so they could scatter bomb Inferno or do something to your army while they're splitting the beam at the same time. Beam's just not very popular for me, so I think teleport all the way, just to guarantee your hero gets out, guarantee the fact that you can get veterancy on that thing is really strong. And then final leader power, Erad, everyone.
I do unbreakable most of the time.
Okay, okay. So he does Unbreakable. What about
Uh,
you?
man, depends. It depends on what kind of map we're on, really. To be honest, like
I really
if
only
there's
use
certain
ERAD against
maps,
the base.
ah, I,
Hmm.
I have very varying situations where ERAD, depending on the map, comes in great, and I really like it when it does. So I prefer to get ERAD most of the time.
So yeah, like, and I'm one of those people. I really like doing jetpack brutes like throughout the whole
Yep,
game.
jump
So
pack brutes can go
yes,
well too.
so if you do jetpack brutes throughout the whole game, or if you have choppers from the early game that's still lingering around, then you can really ram people or jump on people, and then erad them. And it's really hard to avoid. Eradding a base does, I think, 85% damage to all pads. A caveat to erad would be do not erad banish bases. It glitches out sometimes and it does zero damage a lot
Yep,
of times.
yep. So that's it's a weird glitch.
Mm-hmm.
If the base has had a shield, it's not just ERAD that glitches out with
It's
that. If you
Inferno and
Mac,
it's other
yeah,
stuff too. Yeah.
yeah, it's all instance damage. So it's not things like glassing beam, nothing that's like
Yeah.
longevious. It's all instance damage. You will not get a single bit of damage from Mac. You will not get a single bit
Yeah.
damage from any like anything like that has like that instant damage capability because for some reason it still registers the shield, and this isn't just banish bases. It's if you drop it a grunt dome and you drop an LP on a grunt dome, it will cancel the damage out with that same glitch that we were just
Huh.
talking about.
Oh,
It's the weirdest, yeah, it's the weirdest thing.
learn something every day. Well, anyways,
Yeah.
so are you erad? Are you unbreakable? Like what are you? Okay.
I'm an ERAD guy.
Yeah.
I just most of the time you can get some kind of viability out of it, and it's just great
Okay.
when it does.
Yeah, I think that I'm the same way. Whereas like I'll body block people with my army or something into it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use jetpack brutes or choppers or something. Sometimes I actually build extra choppers just for the erad, like just so I just so I'll stun them. So yeah. All right, for Decimus, um, early game Deci. What do you guys think? First two leader powers.
Oh, Vortex all the way.
Vortex for Furt, number one.
Yeah.
All right, what about number two?
Um, man, depends on if I'm going for the base or not. If I'm hitting the base, then yeah, you can go as far as Vortex 2. But if not, then yeah, I mean,
Hey,
it could be good. Yeah.
Hayden, what do you think? First two leader points?
Uh, hmm. I mean, anytime I play Decimus, I just spam grunts, so I usually get the passive, and then
Killing Frenzy? Okay.
yep,
And then Vortex
and the
after that,
siphon.
or
No, I get the siphon after that.
no Vortex? None. That's a
Uh, uh,
that's a strong
I mean,
pick.
sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes.
Okay, so
I could see the argument for Siphon though, because it's a heal where you don't have to sit still in it though, which is
sure.
pretty nice in itself. It's one of the better unit heals in the game.
Yeah, I'd like to argue that for the third point though. I think the first two are really good. But as for my
Yeah, probably
choice,
Vortex second point.
so I like. So it depends. Like, so if you're going for nodes, Killing Frenzy is really nice, right? But if you're going and fighting people's units, I think Vortex is better. So usually I'll go Vortex first, then Killing Frenzy, but you could make a really good argument for Killing Frenzy first for nodes and such. Um, so yeah. Third point, I think most people would go Glassing Beam, but I would also make an argument for Siphon. I think either one is really good. I genuinely go for Glassing Beam more, but I do think that, uh, honestly, I think Siphon can definitely be an argument. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh,
The siphon.
you're not gonna like mine.
Oh no.
My third point is, especially if I'm getting the Vortex, I really like Fury. I don't know what it is, man, but I don't know if you've seen the way, especially if you're not under immediate pressure, Vortex 2 with a Fury, it's a lot of
It's pretty.
damage.
It is a lot of damage. I think Fury is like, oh, like 60% damage increase or something
Yeah,
like that, and
it
then
is a lot.
and
It's
then
60%.
yeah, and then Vortex Lightning is
Level
like
2.
15% armor reduction. So if you
But isn't
combine
level
those,
2 like 30? I thought level 2 was like 30 reduction.
I don't know if it buffs that. I know it buffs duration and the damage it does, but I don't think it debuffs the base more.
Well, from what I heard from Ugly, because he was doing some tests on it, he went as far as to say that the defense reduction rate when he tested it was like a 30%, like a ridiculous jump from the first one. So that's why a lot of people go with the second version of Vortex Lightning,
That
and that in
would
pairing with
be
the
hard.
60% for me is like, ooh, Fury is, yeah,
Yeah,
it's tough.
I would have to do some tests on it, but honestly, that would be a hard one because I know it does more damage, but to figure out how much more damage it's doing versus how much more armor it's taking away would be interesting. I got a few ideas. I might do some tests on that later.
Sure.
So for fourth point, teleport boundless siphon. What do you guys choose?
I mean, Boundless, right?
I
You
mean,
got
yeah,
all
balance.
the way
Yeah.
for Boundless.
Yeah, I think we're all going to come into agreement. Balance siphon is the way. I mainly go. I like going grunt spam with Desi, and I'm more of an infantry based Desi, so I like Ranger, Hunter, Reaver with grunt spam. And I don't know if anybody's seen balance siphon with grunts, but like anti-infantry turret can literally shoot a grunt forever because it will heal just as fast as the turret shoots it, which is
Yep.
just ridiculous. So for people that don't know this, banshees have been nerfed into the ground with balanced siphon. Like it doesn't affect banshees very much because people have complained for so many years. But all the other units are about the same. Actually, grunts got nerfed one time because it used to be just unkillable. Now you could definitely kill them, but it's still really hard. So I upgrade my grunts to Tech 2 and with Boundless Siphon, and I will have another thing that's an unpopular opinion is if you have Tech 2 JPBs it is almost impossible to kill them if they're hitting a building. Like they could just ignore everything around them and hit a building, and Boundless Siphon JPBs will heal so fast that is literally almost impossible to kill them. So, yeah, Boundless Siphon all the way for me. And then for my last leader point, personally, I'm doing Desi Drop. I think that's just one of the best leader powers in the entire game. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
for sure.
man,
Dusty drop.
it really depends for me because I am very aggressive when I do my play style, so I need the extra speed like the Boundless Fury offers. There's not many LPs that give you a constant speed boost the entire game, and it might not be very like flashy at face value, like the thousand Decimus drop, but it's free, so you can use it anytime, and it's a damage and a speed buff, which you can't get from nearly any other LP in the game. So for me, it's always the Boundless Fury.
Versus a reusable ERAD?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I know that sounds weird. I know it sounds weird, but
Nice.
it's. I'm telling you, man, the speed and the damage, it makes a difference on your army. It's subtle, so it's not noticeable like the ERAD. But most of the time, when you see like the Decimus walking back up to you for his little ERAD, you're gonna move out of the way. So you get that one time when you drop him in that does a phenomenal amount of damage, but that passive is constant and it might not be as noticeable at first, but it's there and it's very good. It's the same value that you get for taking fights that you would with the cutter speed. It's just that much more valuable for your army. I really love it.
Yeah, I don't think I could pass up the Desi drop for it, but yeah, like Balance Fury could definitely be a six for me. But as for yeah, I think I would have to go Desi drop. Um, yeah, as for like Trox versus Desi and stuff like so, Trox is better against scouts. I would say like he can just run and gun scouts all day. Desi with his upgrade can pull in scouts, but he still can't be considered as good as Trox by any means when it comes to versing scouts. But I do think that Trox is going to have a hard time building his hero versus a Desi whenever Desi can pull him in and
Yeah.
use his Y ability. And just for anybody that doesn't know this, whenever you're using Desi, you can do something called you can increase your rate of fire with your melee by just move, hit, move, hit, move, hit. So that increases it by a lot. But another thing you can do is you can whenever I pull the Atriox, I step back one step and I Y ability the ground where the Atriox is going to land. So that means as he lands on the ground, the Y ability happens. Because if you pull him to you and then you just hit Y on the hero, a lot of times he can walk about 6 feet away before the Y goes off, and you'll still hit him and it will still stun him because whoever you hit Y on when they're right next to you, it's already locked on. It's going to hit them regardless of how far away they are. But what I'm saying though is if I pull him into the center of my army, I don't want to stun him and do damage and have to spend time walking to him while he's stunned. I want so as soon as I pull him, I take one step back, hit the ground, he lands on it, I hit him, he stays right there. Then I can immediately Y ability the crap out of him with my shrapnel mines, and usually he's dead. So I think Desi is a very formidable opponent for any hero unit in the game. So most people see Desi and they're like, "Do I build my hero this game?" Like, and I think that really is very powerful. But the hit and run and the kiting of Atriox is like unmatched by all other leaders for the most part. Like he can literally just be a gnat around your head and just hit you over and over and over throughout the entire game. And he's so good at that. So my personal opinion, I put Desi just slightly higher, just because I do like killing Frenzy Vortex over the Atriox kit. I do like the fact that my opponent has to be scared of building his hero. And then as for that's just the early game, but I think those two are very equal in the early game. I think they're very similar. But I think late game is no contest. I think Desi shits on Atriox in the late game. I really don't think Atriox has a chance. And the reason is because he has two of the most expensive leader points in the game. Unbreakable is 2,000 resources. It's 1,200 supplies and 800 power. That's a lot. Erad 1,000 1,000. Yet again, it's a lot. I think that Desi drops better than Erad, and also Desi doesn't have any more expensive leader powers after that. That's his only one. So it's and Desi has passives, whereas for his army for engagements, whereas Trox doesn't. So he doesn't. Trox doesn't really have passives except for countermeasures, and super late game that's not gonna matter as much. Fortifications helps your eco, but it doesn't help you engage people. So I think late game, I would give it to Desi. Early game, I think they're very comparable. I think they're very similar in power level for early game.
I
So
can agree to that.
what do you guys think about that overview?
The only problem, the only reason, I mean, we obviously know that like Decimus, his passives are fantastic. Vortex is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. His leaders are fantastic, especially in their anti leader capabilities. I think the only reason that I was apprehensive about letting Decimus come after or be higher up on the tier list than Trox is because I feel that Decimus is a little bit more susceptible to base harassment. I feel like yes, definitely he's much better in the straight up engagement and like he's probably gonna win most of the time with most matchups.
Mm-hmm.
But he does not have a heal for his base. He does not
Sure.
have any like thing that aids him in base defense like the fortification, like the cheap forto, cheap turrets, cheap shield for Trox.
Sure.
And the bulwark to negate like nukes on the base, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I, that's the only reason I'm just sort of like, is he better than Trox? Like, yes, he can take a better fight.
Mm-hmm.
But is he as good as dealing with counter harass? And I don't think he is as good as dealing with counter harass.
Yeah, I think that these are the two closest people we have on this list. I think as for an argument for like who could be where, I think these leaders are so close that it's like it really could be either one. Um, they are on the same tier. It's just I have them in an order to say this person's better than this person, so on and so forth. Um, I think that these two we could call them a tie, essentially.
I could do that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like where it's like they're just a tie. Yeah, because I think I'm right there with you on. I really stand behind Trox, where he is a really really solid leader with stats and win records to back him up. Like he's strong.